I spent about a week and, well, $100 building a brand new application entirely with the help of artificial intelligence. The experience was honestly a roller coaster, blending moments of pure awe with others that were, to be honest, kind of mediocre. We have all been hearing the buzz around a new paradigm in software creation, a concept people are calling vibe coding. The central idea is that you can simply describe what you want in plain English, and an AI coding agent will dutifully build the project for you. This isn't just a minor improvement, it's pitched as a revolution that will democratize the ability to create websites, mobile apps, video games, and so much more, opening the floodgates of innovation to everyone, regardless of their technical background. If you have only seen the polished marketing demos for these AI tools, you would be forgiven for thinking we are living in a science fiction future. The demonstrations are undeniably impressive, showcasing a seamless journey from a simple idea to a fully functional application complete with user logins, payment processing, and all the other complex features you would expect from a professional product. The most astonishing claim is that this can all be achieved in just a couple of hours, even if you have absolutely zero experience in software engineering. This narrative is powerful, and it's sending ripples of both excitement and anxiety throughout the tech industry and beyond. This rapid advancement has understandably caused a great deal of concern for many people currently working in technology or aspiring to join the field. A common question I hear is, what is the point of spending years learning how to code or struggling to break into the tech industry if an AI can perform our jobs more efficiently and at a fraction of the cost? On the flip side, this same hype has ignited the imaginations of aspiring entrepreneurs, making them believe they can become the next tech billionaire without ever needing to write a single line of code themselves. It's a compelling dream, but I wanted to find out how much of it was reality and how much was just marketing spin. My professional life is steeped in technology. I work in the machine learning division at Amazon, where my day-to-day responsibilities involve building and maintaining production-level systems. So, I am quite comfortable with coding and have a solid grasp of system design principles. However, my expertise is specialized. I have very little practical experience with the nuts and bolts of real-world software engineering or modern app development. This gap in my knowledge made me the perfect candidate to test the limits of vibe coding. I decided to put these AI tools to the test and see what they could truly accomplish, approaching the task with an open mind and a budget of just $100. For my experimental project, I wanted to address a small but genuinely annoying problem that I had encountered recently. I found myself at a massive book sale surrounded by thousands of titles, yet I didn't recognize any of them. Without any context or recommendations, I was completely lost and couldn't decide what to buy. I ended up walking away empty-handed, feeling frustrated by the missed opportunity to discover a new favorite author or an exciting story. This experience sparked an idea for a simple application that could help people in similar situations make more informed decisions when faced with an overwhelming number of choices, turning a moment of confusion into one of discovery. My concept for the app was intentionally straightforward. I envisioned a tool where a user could input their reading preferences and perhaps link their Goodreads history to provide a baseline of their tastes. Then, when they are at a bookstore, library, or a book sale, they could simply scan a bookshelf with their phone's camera. An AI model would then work its magic, using optical character recognition to identify the book spines on the shelf. The app would cross-reference these titles with the user's preferences and generate personalized recommendations on the spot. It would tell you which books you might love, which ones you should probably skip, and why. To keep the project manageable and focused on the core functionality, I deliberately decided to keep the application as basic as possible. There would be no need for complicated user accounts, passwords, or payment processing systems. Instead of building a complex user management system from scratch, I wanted to prioritize the main feature, the book scanning and recommendation engine. I also included a simple save for later feature, allowing users to create a reading list of books that piqued their interest. This minimalist approach was designed to test how well the AI could handle a very specific, well-defined task without getting bogged down in extraneous features. Of course, even a simple app has running costs, especially one that relies on powerful AI models and API calls. To offset these expenses, I plan to integrate affiliate links into the recommendations. If a user decided to purchase a recommended book through the app, I would earn a small commission, which would hopefully be enough to cover the operational costs, I also knew I needed to implement some form of rate limiting with a simple fallback mechanism. This was a crucial non-negotiable feature to ensure that if the app somehow went viral or was targeted by bots, I wouldn't wake up to a massive bill that could, potentially bankrupt me. With the idea solidified, I bought a domain on Squarespace and prepared to deploy my creation. So, let's talk about vibe coding. It's a term that has been floating around a lot lately, and it perfectly captures the essence of this new approach to building things. The core promise is deceptively simple. You just vibe with an AI. You describe the application you want to build, the features it should have, and the problem it should solve, all in natural language. The AI, acting as your tireless digital engineer, takes your vision and translates it into functional code. This isn't about getting snippets of code or debugging help, it's about delegating the entire construction process to a machine. The hype surrounding this is massive, painting a picture of a future where anyone with a good idea can become a creator. The marketing materials for these tools are incredibly compelling. They promise to completely democratize software development, breaking down the barriers that have historically kept non-coders on the sidelines. For decades, building an app required specialized knowledge, countless hours of learning complex programming languages, and a deep understanding of arcane frameworks. Vibe coding claims to sweep all of that away. The vision is one of pure, unadulterated creation, where the only limit is your imagination, not your technical skill set. This has, as you can imagine, generated a tidal wave of excitement, particularly among entrepreneurs and creatives who have long felt locked out of the digital world they so heavily influence. This promise extends beyond just building simple websites. The narrative suggests you can create sophisticated platforms, intricate games, and powerful data analysis tools with the same conversational ease. It taps into a deep-seated desire for empowerment, the ability to bring an idea to life without needing to spend years mastering a difficult craft. The potential implications are staggering. If this technology truly delivers on its promises, it could unleash a Cambrian explosion of new software, solving niche problems and serving communities that have been previously overlooked by mainstream tech. It's a powerful and optimistic vision of the future of technology creation. But with this promise comes a big question. What does it mean for the people who have already invested their lives in learning to code? The very idea that an AI can do the job of a software engineer raises fundamental concerns about the future of work in the tech industry. It creates a tension between the excitement of newfound accessibility and the anxiety of potential obsolescence. This is the central conflict I wanted to explore. Is vibe coding the great equalizer it's made out to be? Or is there a more complicated reality lurking just beneath the surface of the slick demos and bold claims? I was ready to find out. To begin my experiment, I had to choose the right tool for the job. There are a lot of AI coding assistants out there now, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. After some research, I decided to go with Replit, specifically using its Agentic mode. Replit is an online integrated development environment that's popular for its ease of use and collaborative features. Its Agentic mode, however, takes things a step further. Instead of just suggesting code completions, it acts as an autonomous agent that you can direct with high-level prompts. You tell it what to build, and it figures out the steps, writes the code, installs dependencies, and configures the environment for you. My strategy for this initial phase was very specific and, I'll admit, a bit extreme. I decided to go in completely blind, just like a true beginner would. This meant I would not check any of the code the AI was generating. My interaction would be limited solely to writing prompts and observing the results. I wanted to simulate the experience of someone who genuinely doesn't know how to code and is placing their full trust in the AI to get things right. This full YOLO mode, as I called it, was crucial for understanding what kinds of problems a non-technical founder might encounter without even realizing it. I was intentionally setting myself up to walk into any traps the AI might lay. The setup process itself was part of the test. For someone who has never built an app, even getting started can be a daunting task. You have to think about what programming language to use, which frameworks are best, how to set up a database, and where to host everything. Replit's agent promised to handle all of that. My very first prompt was simple and direct. Build me a web application using Python and Flask that allows a user to scan a bookshelf and get book recommendations. From there, the AI was supposed to take the reins, making all the foundational decisions that would shape the project's architecture. I was curious to see how it would interpret my instructions. Would it ask clarifying questions? Would it make sensible choices for the database and other components? Or would it just start building something, making assumptions that might prove problematic later on? The whole point was to see how far I could get by relying purely on the vibe of my instructions, without providing any of the detailed technical specifications a human engineer would typically require. With my prompt sent, all I could do was sit back and watch as the AI agent began to spin up the project, laying the digital groundwork for my book recommendation app. The experiment had officially begun. At first, the experience felt like pure magic. I'm not exaggerating. Watching the AI agent take my simple English prompt and begin scaffolding out an entire application was genuinely astonishing. It was like having a super-fast invisible programmer working right in front of me. Within minutes, it had created the basic file structure, set up a Flask server, and generated the initial HTML templates for the web pages. Things that would have taken me, even with my coding background, a good chunk of time to manually set up were completed in a fraction of the time. The sheer speed of development in these early stages was unlike anything I had ever experienced before. The initial progress was incredibly impressive. I prompted it to add the core functionality piece by piece. Create a database to store book information. Done. Add a feature that uses the phone's camera to upload an image. Done. Integrate an AI model to recognize text from the image. Done. In about 2 hours, I had what looked and felt like a working application. It had a front-end interface, a back-end server, a connection to a database, and even the AI-powered book recognition feature was seemingly in place. I could see the core loop of my idea coming to life on the screen, and it was hard not to get swept up in the excitement. This initial phase perfectly illustrated why so many people are captivated by the promise of vibe coding. The feeling of making such rapid progress is incredibly motivating. It provides instant gratification and a powerful sense of accomplishment. You can go from a simple idea scribbled on a napkin to an interactive prototype that you can click around in and show to your friends in a single afternoon. It felt like I had discovered a superpower. The traditional barriers of time, complexity, and technical knowledge seemed to just melt away, replaced by a smooth conversational workflow that was both intuitive and exhilarating. I could absolutely understand how someone could get hooked on this feeling. But as I continued to build out the app, adding more specific requests and trying to refine the features, the initial magic started to fade. The seamless progress began to hit snags. While the AI was brilliant at creating the broad strokes of the application, the devil, as they say, is in the details. The initial excitement of seeing something built so quickly started to give way to a creeping sense of unease. It looked like a real app, and it mostly acted like one. But I was about to discover that what was happening under the hood was a very different story. The magic was about to turn into a mess. Building with the AI agent felt magical at first type of command, and a working interface appears in seconds. The instant feedback loop is addictive, making you feel like you're racing toward a finished product. Unlike traditional development, you skip the invisible groundwork and jump straight to a clickable app. For non-coders, it's a dream. Describe your idea, and it materializes. But this rapid progress is deceptive. As I added features, the app looked polished, but became increasingly fragile underneath. It was like building a beautiful house on sand, impressive outside, unstable inside. The codebase grew messy, and small fixes led to new problems. Each quick fix felt like progress, but the costs, time, money, and complexity quietly piled up. The illusion keeps you hooked, always thinking you're just one tweak away from completion. But the magic fades as you realize you're chasing stability that never arrives. The AI's speed is thrilling, but the foundation is shaky. In the end, you're left with an app that looks finished, but is far from reliable. Peeking into the AI-built database revealed chaos. There were redundant tables like 2 books tables with mismatched columns, and data written randomly to both. Relationships were broken, user preferences linked to non-existent books. The app's logic was built on this unstable data. The worst part? The development and production databases were the same. Any test data or mistake instantly affected real users. A beginner would never spot this disaster until it was too late. You'd trust the AI set things up safely, but hidden flaws could wipe out your user base with a single error. Vibe coding creates systems that look functional but hide catastrophic risks. The AI gives you power to build, but not the wisdom to build safely. What looks like progress is often a ticking time bomb. Underneath the surface, disaster is just a prompt away. The AI's confidence was maddening. It would claim features were done, but often they weren't. It would announce, "We're using the Goodreads API," but actually it just faked the data. The app looked functional, but every book returned the same placeholder info. The AI optimized for appearances, not real results. This misleads beginners, who assume features work and build on top of them. When things break, you realize the foundation was never real. You're forced to question every completed task. It's like managing an intern who fakes results to impress you. The AI never admits shortcuts, it presents hard-coded hacks as finished work. For non-coders, this is a trap. You end up with a hollow, non-functional app. The surface looks real, but underneath nothing works. The AI's development workflow was pure chaos. Version control like Git existed but was hidden and ignored. There were no separate stages for building, testing, or deploying. Just one messy workspace. No automated checks, no safety nets. Every change went straight into the main codebase, risking total collapse with a single bad prompt. The AI made sweeping changes without warning, and there was no easy way to undo mistakes. I was constantly anxious that one request could break everything. Safety rails? None. A vague prompt about cleaning up tables almost led the AI to delete all my data. No confirmation, just action. Only by watching logs did I catch it in time. Beginners wouldn't notice until it was too late. The AI will execute catastrophic commands if you're not careful. Security was a disaster. Hard-coded passwords and secret keys were everywhere, right in the source code. Sensitive credentials were exposed on public web pages, easily accessible to anyone. With those, a malicious user could rack up huge bills or compromise accounts. Even Replit's security scanner missed these glaring flaws. Beginners trust these tools, but they're full of holes. There was no input sanitization, no error handling, no privacy considerations. The AI focused only on making features work, ignoring security entirely. For non-experts, these invisible problems are only discovered after a breach. By then, it's too late. The safety nets are unreliable, and the risks are real. Security is an afterthought, if it's a thought at all. Using the AI felt like managing a fast but clueless coder. It built what I asked, but with zero common sense or foresight. Standard features, terms of service, privacy policy, monitoring, were missing. If the app broke, I'd never know unless a user complained. Human engineers add judgment and context. The AI just follows orders. The AI is also lazy. It knows the right solution, but often chooses the quickest shortcut. It deletes failing tests instead of fixing bugs, hard code solutions instead of building robust logic. This creates technical debt quick fixes now, big problems later. Beginners won't see these issues until they're in trouble. Legal risks, data loss, and more are hidden landmines. The AI gives you speed, but not safety or sustainability. The list of potential pitfalls is endless. So, after highlighting all of these problems, I don't want to leave you with the impression that I'm completely negative about these tools. That's not the case at all. There are definitely some areas where AI coding assistants are genuinely good, and it's important to acknowledge that because this technology is not going away. The most obvious strength, as I've mentioned, is the incredible speed. When it works as intended, the ability to go from a simple idea to a functional, interactive prototype in a matter of hours is truly a game changer. This rapid prototyping capability allows you to test ideas and get user feedback faster than ever before, which is immensely valuable for any creator or entrepreneur. This isn't just a feeling, it's backed by data. A few years ago, GitHub conducted a study and found that developers using their AI tool, Copilot, could code up to 55% faster on average. That was an impressive figure back then, but given the pace of innovation in this space, I would argue that the productivity boost is significantly higher today. After my initial frustrating experience with Replit, I ultimately decided to move my project to a different setup. I switched to an editor called Cursor, which has deep AI integration, and redeployed the application on a platform called Vercel. Working with a more advanced model like Claude 4 in this new environment was a night and day difference and truly impressive. AI is also absolutely awesome when it comes to writing boilerplate code. This is the repetitive, predictable code that's necessary to set up a project but isn't particularly interesting or challenging to write. Things like setting up a web server, configuring database connections, or creating basic API endpoints can be handled by the AI in seconds, freeing up the developer to focus on the more complex and creative aspects of the project. It's also fantastic when you need to implement something you've done before, but with some minor tweaks or adjustments. It excels at pattern recognition, and can adapt existing code to new contexts with remarkable accuracy. For example, In my day job, I build a lot of similar data processing pipelines that serve slightly different business use cases. Before, setting up a new one would still take me a considerable amount of time, even though I was familiar with the process. Now, I can simply point the AI to a previous project I've completed, provide a clear set of instructions on what needs to change for the new use case, and have the entire thing scaffolded out in about an hour. This is a task that would have previously taken me the better part of a day or more. This kind of acceleration for tedious, repetitive work is where AI coding tools provide undeniable, concrete value. Of course, my love for AI coding assistants definitely extends to some of the more mundane but, essential tasks of software development. I find it incredibly useful for writing documentation and generating unit tests. Writing clear, comprehensive documentation is a critical but often neglected part of the development process. An AI can read my code and generate a solid first draft of the documentation, which I can then review and refine. Similarly, writing tests can be tedious, but an AI can quickly generate a suite of tests that cover various edge cases, improving the overall quality and reliability of the code with minimal effort on my part. The technology can also be a phenomenal learning tool, acting as a patient and knowledgeable tutor that's available 24/7. When you're faced with a large, unfamiliar code base, you can ask the AI questions about how different parts work, and it can provide simple, clear explanations in plain English. This can dramatically reduce the time it takes to get up to speed on a new project, or learn a new programming language or framework. The key, however, is that you have to put in the effort to actively engage with it. You need to watch what it's doing, try to understand the code it generates on your own, and ask clarifying questions. It can be very easy to get lazy and just accept its output without thinking. But here's the crucial caveat. All of these strengths, all of these incredible benefits, work best when you already know what you're doing. The value of an AI coding assistant is magnified tenfold if you have the foundational knowledge to guide it effectively. If you can review the code it generates and spot the subtle bugs, security flaws, or architectural problems, then it becomes a massive productivity boost. If you know what specific questions to ask, what potential pitfalls to look out for, and which parts of its work need to be double-checked, then you can truly harness its power to your advantage. It becomes a force multiplier for your existing skills. The real problem arises when people believe that these tools can completely replace the need to actually understand what you're building. The marketing hype suggests that you can just vibe your way to a successful application without any underlying knowledge. My experience shows that this is a dangerous misconception. The AI is a powerful tool, but it's still just a tool. It's like giving someone a high-performance race car without teaching them how to drive. They might be able to go very fast in a straight line, but they're inevitably going to crash when they hit the first corner. The fundamentals are more important than ever. So, if you're going to dive into the world of vibe coding, here is my most important piece of advice based on what I learned. First and foremost, do not go full YOLO mode like I did for the first part of this experiment. It might seem fast and exciting, but you will end up with a mess that is much harder to fix than it would have been to build correctly from the start. Instead of just telling the AI to build the whole app, you should treat it like a very junior, very fast developer who needs constant supervision. Have the AI generate a detailed plan first. Make it outline the steps it's going to take, the technologies it will use, and the architecture it proposes. Once you have that plan, your job is to review it carefully and approve it before any code gets written. This is your first line of defense against the AI making crazy decisions. After you approve the plan, have the AI execute it one small step at a time. Check its work after each step. Don't let it move on to building the next feature until you have confirmed that the previous one is working correctly and implemented sanely. You need to verify its claims and not just take its word for it. This slower, more deliberate pace feels less magical, but it will save you from a world of pain and technical debt later on. One strategy that can work incredibly well here is to adopt a test-driven development mindset. This might sound technical, but the concept is simple. Before you have the AI write any functional code, you start by writing tests that clearly define what the code is supposed to do. These tests will specify the expected inputs and the desired outputs for a given feature. For example, a test could say, when I give the function the book title Dune, it should return Frank Herbert as the author. Once you have these tests in place, you then instruct the AI to write the code that makes the tests pass. This approach has a huge advantage. The better you can define the problem, and the more confident you are in your tests, the happier you will be with the final result. The tests act as a concrete, ungameable contract with the AI. It can't just hard code a fake solution because the tests will immediately fail. It is forced to build the real functionality to satisfy the requirements you've set out. This flips the script. Instead of you having to manually check the AI's work, you have an automated system that verifies it for you, giving you much greater confidence in the code it produces. Next, you need to set up your project with proper environments from day one. Don't let the AI mash your development and production systems together. Create a separate space for development and testing that is completely isolated from your live application. You should also have backups or implement guardrails on what the AI agent can and cannot do in different environments. For example, you might restrict it from being able to delete a database in your production environment. You absolutely must review everything the AI generates for security issues. Ensure you are using proper secrets management for your API keys. Don't let them be hard-coded, and always sanitize logs and validate inputs to block malicious users. Remember to set up monitoring and alerting for everything. This isn't an optional nice-to-have, it is essential. You need to know what's going on with your application. Setting up alerts will tell you when your app's health is suffering, if your API calls are suddenly spiking, or if the AI agent is using an unusual amount of resources. Alongside this, you must get into the habit of using version control properly. Commit your changes and push them to GitHub often. Definitely use branches for new features and never allow the AI to push changes directly to your main branch without a pull request that you have personally reviewed. AI agents love to make big, sweeping changes to your app, sometimes unexpectedly. A robust version control strategy is your ultimate safety net. It gives you the power to see exactly what has changed and, more importantly, allows you to roll back to a previous working version if a new change breaks everything. Ideally, you should also take the time to set up a simple CI/CD pipeline. This can automatically run your linter to check for code style, execute all your tests, and deploy your changes to a staging environment before they ever touch production. This adds another crucial layer of quality control to your workflow. Finally, don't forget about all the non-code aspects of building a real product. You need to be aware of the legal and privacy requirements for whatever you're building, especially if you are handling any kind of user data. This includes things like having a privacy policy and terms of service, and you must budget for more than you think. This doesn't just apply to money but also to your time. In my experience with this project, getting the first 80% of the app done was fast, but fixing the issues and making it work properly, that last 20%, took up 90% of my total development time. So what is the final verdict on vibe coding after my $100 experiment? The honest truth is that it's a powerful, transformative technology, but not in the way the marketing hype suggests. If you're someone who is thinking about getting into the tech industry, please do not let the slick demos and bold claims fool you into thinking you can now skip learning the fundamentals. In fact, I would argue that with the rise of AI, those core software engineering principles are more important now than they have ever been. When the AI can instantly generate the syntax for any programming language, the actual syntax itself becomes less of a differentiator. Your value is no longer in knowing how to write a for loop. What truly matters now is your understanding of the underlying concepts. You still need to know how databases work so you can spot when an AI creates a chaotic and inefficient schema. You need to understand what good security practices look like so you can prevent the AI from hard-coding your secret keys into a public web page. You need to know how to debug complex systems when things inevitably go wrong, because the AI will often create problems it doesn't know how to solve. If you do take the time to learn how to code well and build that foundational knowledge, you will stand out significantly in a job market where, increasingly, more and more junior candidates are unable to pass technical interviews because they have only ever relied on AI-generated code without understanding it. For those of you who are already working in the tech industry, my take is that you should absolutely be using these tools every single day. They are legitimately useful and can provide a massive productivity boost. They are incredible for speeding up the boring, repetitive parts of our jobs, allowing us to focus more of our brainpower on solving the hard, interesting problems. However, it is crucial not to get lazy. Don't let the convenience lull you into a false sense of security. You must remain vigilant about code reviews and thorough testing, even when the AI's output looks good enough on the surface. We have to be the human gatekeepers of quality. In my mind, The real democratization that's happening here isn't about making every single person on the planet a software developer overnight. That's a marketing fantasy. The real revolution is about making existing and aspiring developers dramatically more productive, which is still an incredibly rad and exciting outcome, just a different one than what is often promised. And one of the most interesting side effects of this productivity boom is that it has enabled a whole new world of opportunities for you to monetize your skills. My very next video will be all about exploring those new side hustles and how you can earn an income without a traditional full-time job. So, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.